Hey guys, I am trying out some new software today, so I just want to make sure that I can see all of your comments coming in and that we get you guys all on here live. This is sort of my test run with this new BeLive.tv. If you guys haven't checked it out, seems pretty cool so far. You can schedule your broadcast. You can do a Q&A where you can display people's questions right on the screen. You can do a split screen and interview someone. So I am testing out the features a little bit today, and you'll see I'm not in my normal spot today. I'm, as you can see, kind of in a kitchen. I am traveling this week and at a condo in Savannah, Georgia, which is one of my favorite cities in the whole world. So I don't have my normal home here. I am just going to check and make sure that we really are live and that everything is running like it's supposed to. But I'm super excited to talk today about this idea of approaching publicity from a strategic perspective, because I've had a lot of people telling me lately that, they've been featured on this website or that website and they've been on this podcast and, they feel like it's never really done anything for them. So I want to, let's see, it looks like we're live here. So I want to talk about how do you approach it in a strategic way? What are the pieces that need to be in place? This is actually something we are talking about in my small group program about not just how to land the publicity opportunities, but how do you leverage them? How do you make sure that they're not just a one-off appearance and that the things you're doing are going to generate leads for your business and grow your business? And that is it's not a short-term thing. It's some piece for Forbes and your business blows up, or do one podcast interview and suddenly people are, beating down your door to work with you. It is part of your overall marketing strategy. It fits in with everything else that you're doing on social media and with your newsletter and with your own blog and your own website. It is part of a long-term strategy. For example, I get the majority of my paid speaking engagements through people that find me on Forbes. Well, it's not because I wrote for Forbes one time. It's because I wrote for Forbes for 2 years, from 2009 to 2011. And now I've been back for almost 2 years. So it's having that body of work out there. I'm not saying you have to go write for Forbes for 4 years to start getting opportunities. I started getting opportunities much faster than that, but you also can't write for Forbes or wherever else one time or do one podcast interview and expect that your business is going to fundamentally change and that you're suddenly going to be full with clients. That's not how publicity works. I always want to set expectations with the people that I work with. And so one of the things we've been talking about in my small group publicity program is these different opportunities. How do you prepare for them to get the most out of them, but also then how do you leverage them going forward to have it be more than just that one-off kind of opportunity? So I just want to check and make sure we are still rolling good live here. If you're here, please say hi. I would love to know that you're here and want to make sure that I'm getting in your comments and that this new system is working. I'm going to adjust the camera a little bit. I don't have my normal tripod or anything that I normally use. And hopefully, because I'm in this rental condo with internet that I'm not used to, hopefully the internet is strong enough that you guys can all see and hear me clearly. If you can't, please let me know that. So I just want to check and make sure I'm not missing anything from you here. Okay, so I will wait to hear more from you guys here, and we'll just keep an eye on the comments. So let's talk about how you ensure that you're approaching publicity in a strategic way. I would say the first and most important thing is that you are getting your publicity places, okay? So you need to be writing with an outlet or being interviewed on a podcast that your ideal client or customer already consumes, okay? Don't try to drive people to a new site or a new podcast. Go where they already are, okay? So maybe it's your dream to see your byline on Forbes one day. that's great. It can be a great credibility builder. But if your ideal client doesn't typically read Forbes, it won't do that much for you from a lead generation standpoint. Okay, so I'm gonna play around a little bit here with what I'm able to show up on the screen. So let's talk about be in the right place. Playing around with this a little bit. Okay, so first and foremost, you've got to be in the right place. Go to where your ideal client or customer already is. Do not try to drive them to a new place, okay? It might sound important to be somewhere like a Forbes or a Fast Company, an outlet that sort of everyone recognizes, and absolutely those sort of things can be credibility builders for your business if your ideal client or customer doesn't consume that media. So go where your client or customer is, okay? So number one is be in the right place, okay? Number two, and I'll put it up on the screen right here. Number two is talk about the right things, okay? So number two, the most important thing is not only do you have to be on the right outlet, so guest blogging in the right place or doing podcast interviews in the right place, you've got to be talking about the right things. Now, this is a huge mistake that I see people make, okay? As a matter of fact, let's put huge mistake, okay? A huge mistake that I see entrepreneurs make is that the topic about, and I'm going to use that as an example, this could also be true for speaking engagements or podcast interviews, but just for the sake of this example, let's say it's guest blogs, okay? The biggest mistake I think people make is their topic for their guest blog does not lead naturally into their current opt-in, their current lead magnet. It doesn't lead naturally into their current funnel. It doesn't lead naturally into their current services or products. Okay, so I'll give you an example with myself. Hi, Olivia. So I'll give you an example with myself. I previously was promoting a public speaking program, and so I did a lot of material around public speaking, but I'm shifting now, and my current lead magnet and funnel are for my small group publicity program. And so I have a new opt-in that just rolled out this week about how to land podcast interviews. So if you haven't already, I'll drop a link to that down in the comments here, and you can opt in for that, and you can learn all about, there we go, I've popped that down in the comments. You can learn all about how to pitch yourself for podcast interviews and how to use those to grow your business. So now I wouldn't want to land a piece about public speaking with, say, Fast Company. Although actually I wrote a piece and because of the timing delay, it's just now going to go up, but I wouldn't necessarily want to do that. An even better example is sometimes I'll have clients come to me and they've written for Huffington Post, and I go look at their post, and their post would be, let's say, 5 summaries to keep your kids busy. Okay. But their service is health coaching. Okay, see how those aren't related at all? If you wrote a piece on Huffington Post about summer activities you're designing for kids, that is not going to naturally lead into whatever opt-in you have or your current funnel or the services that you have as a health coach, okay? So you want the things that you're writing about not just to be about something that you're interested in or something that's happening in your life. You want it to be something that leads naturally into your current opt-in and into your funnel and into those services and programs that you're focusing on right now, okay? So that is the big mistake I see people making, is you're going out there and you're landing publicity for yourself in things that grow your business because you're not in the right place or talking about the right topic to lead naturally into your funnel. So if you're going to go on and do a podcast interview, for example, podcast interviews almost always allow you to offer a free gift, okay? That free gift should be either an opt-in you currently have running, or it could be something maybe that you specifically designed for that podcast, or maybe it's for a summit where you're going to be a guest expert, but it needs to lead into one of your current funnels. It needs to lead people down the path to working with you in the way you want them to work with you. So let's say right now I'm full with retainer clients and I'm not taking any more retainer clients. So I don't want to lead people down a path to working with me on retainer. I want to lead people down a path to being in my small group program or booking a VIP day with me. And so I need to get in front of the right people for that. I need to talk to them about things that lead naturally into my small group program, which is different than that my retainer clients tend to have been in business a little longer. They're making a little more money, and so they can afford to outsource their publicity to someone. The people in my small group program generally aren't at that level yet, so they're not ready to make that financial commitment. They're in a different place in their business. So I might want to reach them on different types of outlets, and I would probably want to talk about something a little bit different than I would in front of people who have become retainer clients. So think about where your publicity is going to be, where the guest blog or the podcast interview is going to be, and who are the people who are already consuming in that place, who's already reading Forbes or who's already listening to that podcast. What can you teach them that leads them down the path to work with you in the way you want them to work with you right now? Okay, very important. You want to approach this strategically so that it leads really naturally into people working with you, okay? So the third and last sort of thing that I want to mention here is how to approach it strategically by having the right systems in place. So, right systems in place. Having fun with this new program here. We'll see how this goes. So number 3 would be that you have the right systems in place, okay? Sometimes you're not ready for publicity yet, or you're not ready for publicity at a certain level yet. If you're going to get a really big opportunity, for example, I have a client who's going to be in Teen Vogue here soon. You need to have systems in place to be able to capture the possible leads that are going to come from that. So for example, with Teen Vogue, it's my client who has a skincare line, and before the piece, still hasn't gone live yet, but before the piece goes live, we wanted to have the right pieces in place to be able to convert the people who would read the piece and learn about the skincare line into customers. We did that by creating a teen-specific landing page, and that's the page we got linked in the article, not the main homepage, but this teen-specific landing page. We're on that landing page going to have a pop-up that offers them a discount, so that was another piece we had to put into place. And then we also put an email sequence into place that was specific to what find cool and interesting, but also the specific types of skincare issues that they might have versus our older clients. Our older clients might be looking to reduce wrinkles and age spots, whereas obviously the teenage clients are going to be looking for something more like acne control. So you're going to increase your odds of converting them into customers if you're sort of customizing the experience for them. And so by having that specific landing page and having the pop-up and the email sequence all in place, we've put ourselves in the best position possible to capitalize on this enormous opportunity to be in Teen Vogue, okay? So I'm not saying that you have to build a brand new landing page and sequence for everything you do, but when you get a huge opportunity like that, you probably want to do something you currently have and make small tweaks to it. For example, we already had a men's landing page. We took it, swapped out the pictures for teen pictures, and then swapped some of the language to be more appealing to teens. And then the email sequence could be something we already had that we're just making small tweaks to. But most importantly for a lot of you isn't necessarily that it has to be that custom, although if you get a big opportunity, I encourage you to make it that custom. But if you're just starting out and you're doing your first few guest blogs or podcast interviews, I think what's important to have in place is that you have an opt-in. You have somewhere to drive the traffic, particularly for podcast interviews, because they're going to let you give away a free gift in most cases. So don't miss the opportunity to give away the free gift. I'll ask people who tell me they've gotten nothing out of doing podcast interviews, did you offer a free gift? And many times they say no. Well, how are you going to generate leads if you're not giving people a way to interact with you, engage with you, a way to get into your funnel? So even if the host doesn't ask you for a freebie or an opt-in, can you offer one? Most of the time they're going to say yes, not 100% of the time, but most of the time. And so take advantage of that. You're going to be able to mention the opt-in on the interview. You're going to have it in the show notes. It's a huge way that I get people on my list. In fact, it's the most effective way for me to get people on my list is to do these podcast interviews. And then have an email sequence in place, even if it's something really simple. Don't just put people on your list and pay for them to sit there, okay? Get an email sequence in place, even if it's just a couple of emails that helps to lead them down the path to work with you. Continue to add value and teach them things related to the subject of the podcast interview, related to the opt-in. It should all flow really naturally from the interview into the opt-in, into the sequence, okay? It should walk people down a path that gets them closer to working with you. And if you've got questions about that, then let's talk about it. But those are the three main things I think that you need to have in place in order to capitalize on these publicity opportunities. You need to be in the right places, talking about the right things, and you need to have the systems in place, okay? If you have questions, that's what I'm here for right now. Let's get a little Q&A going. Feel free to ask me anything you want to know around this subject. If you watch it on the replay or you're catching on YouTube and you want to ask me questions, I will come back later and check the comments and answer any questions that you guys have. I just want to make sure that if you're going to all the trouble to land these publicity opportunities, particularly if you're paying a publicist or this program, even if it's not mine, I just want you to understand how to really leverage these opportunities. And in my small group program, we go into this even more in depth than I can in a Facebook Live like this. So if you want to know more about the small group program, the next live round starts May 1st, 2017. And then there's also an evergreen option if you're ready to start today and dive right in. We go into even more detail about specifically when a guest blog post or a podcast interview goes live. Exactly what do you do from there? How do you share it with your audience? How do you use it to move along people who are already in your funnel? But also all those things I think you should have done beforehand to have the systems in place so that you can capture those new leads that come in. You may have seen a group recently that I did a podcast interview, and within hours of the podcast interview going live, I had someone reach out to me who ended up on our call booking a $3,000 VIP day with me. I had another person reach out a couple of days later who has reserved a spot already in my small group program. There are only 10 spots, okay, for the group that starts May 1st. 2 of them are already filled, and I haven't even launched my sales page or done anything official. So if you want in, let's start chatting about it now. And then, like I said, there's the evergreen version. You could start right away. I'm giving a bonus to the people who join my small group program for May 1st. If you join now, I will go ahead and add you into the Facebook group. We've got 2 huge guest expert live Q&As coming up the next couple of weeks. I haven't even told my group when I go in to share the news with them, but I will share it here first. I know one of you is watching already. My editor from Fast Company is coming on with us next week to do a live Q&A for my small group program. You can ask him all about what he does and doesn't like to see in pitches, what topics he's looking for right now. You are going to get to ask him questions one-on-one. The following week, or I'm sorry, 2 weeks later, I have a friend coming on who is an editor at What to Expect. She's also written for every major publication. You can get Cosmopolitan. She's worked at Shape. And so she can give you some advice both from the perspective of being an editor, but also having been a freelance writer who was pitching to outlets. So we will talk all about her pitch advice. So if you go ahead and reserve your spot in the next round of the live group program, I will add you to the Facebook group now so that you can get in on those live Q&As that my current group is getting. So if you're interested in that, then definitely shoot me a message and let's chat about that. And you would get some more in-depth information on what we talked about today in terms of how to leverage it, because my belief is you don't do publicity just for publicity's sake. This is not about sticking logos on your website, although that can be great too. But it is about doing publicity that's meaningful, that's effective, that grows your business. One guest blog, one podcast interview does not do that, okay? But we can build a strategy for you. And I'm using my hands, you guys can't even see down here, but I'm building a strategy for you guys. And I do it in a small group setting so that I can work with you individually, because everyone's strategy is a little bit different. But this is not just publicity to say you've done it. It's not just to slap it on your wall and say you had a blog on Forbes. It is, how do you do that in a way that grows your business, makes you money, brings you clients? I mean, that's the point in publicity. So I want you to be able to approach that strategically. I don't see any more questions. So if nobody has anything, I'm just going to take a look and make sure I haven't missed anything here on my phone. I don't see anything, but if you have questions after I wrap this up, feel free to post them. If you watch it on the replay, post your questions. If you catch it on YouTube, leave your questions, and I will come back and answer them later. I hope you guys awesome weekend, a great rest of your Friday, a good weekend, and we will chat again soon. Thanks, guys.